Good day. So our topic is socio-economic aspects of labor migration of the Ukraine's population, and the authors of this research are Tetiana PIZNIAK, Olha KOVALOVA, Aleftina ZABARA, and Olha NOVIKOVA. We are all teachers from Sumy National Agrarian University, Department of Economics, and it is in Ukraine. So now let's come to the subject of our discussion. So, the problem of migration has a great impact on the economy and society of Ukraine, and it is becoming one of the issues of national security nowadays, actually. The scale of migration is not only large, but it has a significant impact on the demographics, economy, society, and public consciousness. Temporary or complete emigration of the Ukraine's population from the country are becoming particularly large scale and relevant today. So the purpose of this study is to identify factors and trends in labor migration of the population of Ukraine and the consequences of such processes for the country. Here you may see methodological basis of the research and general methods which are used. Human resource relocation across borders in search of better paid job is an inevitable reality of globalization. The reasons for such labor migration are often correlated with the social problems in the country. It is supported by the results of a survey which was recently provided in Ukraine, and the survey was conducted on a random sample. It included 2,472 citizens of Ukrainians aged 16 and older. So the sample is representative by religion, age, and sex. So here you may see the results of the survey. So people identified major problem for labor migration as corruption, which is 48% of the respondents. Also, it is military conflict in the Donbas area, which made 43% of the population think about leaving the country. And it may also be high level of unemployment, poor quality of health care, low pensions, and low level of production. Also, surprisingly, coronavirus became one of the reasons which could make people think about changing some working place, and sometimes also low level of government services and political instabilities, and you may see other reasons which are also considered here. Well, as you may see, 1% of the respondents just couldn't answer it. So, the majority of Ukrainians consider their income levels insufficient for a normal life, while less than half of population are satisfied with their current job. The key factors which were assessed by the respondents were income level, current work, health, education system, social life, leisure, security, how their rights were preserved, and environmental general life experience in Ukraine. As you may see, among the others, the opinions on the healthcare system divided. 58% of respondents are dissatisfied with the state of the system, while 42% assess domestic medical care as satisfactory. Almost 52% were satisfied with the education system, 48% were saying that they were completely or partially dissatisfied with it. 72% of respondents are dissatisfied with the security situation in the country and feel uncertain about their own future. 62% negatively assess the legal framework and regulation in the country, in particular in the context of non-discrimination and the level of democratic freedoms. Another logical reason of labor immigration for Ukrainians is unemployment in the country. We have quite catastrophic situation with job places. The State Employment Service also notes that unemployment rate in Ukraine is the highest among European countries. Nowadays, actually, in UA, the figure decreased from 7.3 to 6.7%. Among young people, it's higher, of course, 15.2 to 14.4%. So older people prefer to work more. The demand for foreign labor force, including the work of Ukrainians, continues to grow in Western Europe. In addition, financial incentives to work abroad has increased compared to Ukrainian salaries. Such reasons for migrations are external, but quite significant. So, as you may see here, in countries which are more attractive for migration, the minimal wage and the average salary is quite high. So, for example, in Poland, you can receive about 611 euros per month, which is about 20,000 Ukrainian hryvnia, which is twice as high as an average salary in our country. In Lithuania, we have similar numbers. In Czech Republic, also 575 euro, which is still quite a huge amount. Even in Hungary, which has the lowest monthly salary, it is much more than it is in Ukraine. And another factor which supports the idea of increased migration is ability to support your family at home. So here you may see a graph which illustrates growing amount of remittance incomes. As you may see here, private transfers are very high and their amount is increasing each year. So in 2019, about 11,921 million American dollars were transferred to Ukraine as remittances. As you may probably realize, this is one of those huge cash flows which support Ukrainian economy, and yes, people are highly interested in keeping these situations. Okay, in 2019, the volume of domestic transfers through money transfer system increased by 38.6% compared to 2018. And this trend has been going on for more than a year. In general, the volume of remittances within Ukraine is growing every year. In 2017 by 21%, in 2018 by 24%, in 2019 the average amount of remittances within Ukraine were 314 hryvnias. At the same time, most funds traditionally went to Kiev. Well, despite the fact that workers support the country's economy through their remittances, labor migration exacerbates the demographic situation in the country, increases staff shortages, social tension. At the same time, nowadays, Ukraine is in the top three countries in terms of population decline, along with Japan and Russia. According to experts, the problem of labor migration is that countries have very low capacity to replace labor resources. Therefore, it is advisable to consider the cost of funds which is spent by the state on the reproduction of human resources as a result of investing in education, treatment, social support per Ukrainian. And here we've got the next table. So have a look actually. Here, we've got expenditures of the state for the reproduction of human resources due to investment in education, treatment, social support per Ukrainian. And as you may see, almost $2,000 on average are spent by the state at the birth of a child, just for medical care and social benefits. Another $1,382 are spent for medical care until the adulthood. A lot of money is spent for preschool education, and three times more money is spent for secondary education of a young Ukrainian. And then lots of people get free education at the higher educational institutions. So, from the birth to receiving a diploma of higher education, the state spends on average on education, treatment, social support about 300,000 hryvnias, which is almost 25,000 of American dollars, or more than 20,000 euro per one Ukrainian. So due to emigration of population, Ukraine has lost approximately 175 billion of American dollar investment into labor capital, which is of course such a waste of resources for a country which is not wealthy enough at the moment. So, in conclusion, we wanted to say that in Ukraine it is necessary to create such conditions under which young people with talent, flair, and desire to develop had the priority to live and work in the homeland. actually. Under no circumstances should young people be forced to leave Ukraine in search of better job, better working conditions, higher payment. It is clear that it is impossible to prohibit the departure and study of students abroad, and of course the advantages of some wealthy countries. That's why it is necessary to create appropriate conditions so that they have the desire and were granted to return and live and work in Ukraine. And we very much hope that our country will be able to provide all necessary benefits, all necessary incentives, so that our people could stay here in the future and could develop the economy of Ukraine. Thank you for attention.